Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Midwest #1 weekly motorsports show, Track Talk, on the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. Brought to you by McCarthy Auto Group. Once again, here's Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Track Talk here on RacinBoys Radio. I'm Scott. He's Kirk. Hour number 1, like hour number 2, brought to you by now McCarthy Auto Group. McCarthy has 7 dealerships between the locations of Olathe, Overland Park, Blue Springs, and now Sedalia with McCarthy Toyota in Sedalia. Go to kccars.com, select the brand of dealership, and surf around and find a car. You can find out all their inventory on kccars.com. Again, 7 McCarthy dealerships. They have 2 Hyundai dealerships, 2 Nissan dealerships, Toyota, Chevrolet. They've got you covered. If you want an American-made car or foreign car, there you have it. You can get you a Nissan, or you can get you a Hyundai or a Toyota. But I'm a Chevrolet guy. When I buy my car, I go to McCarthy Chevrolet off of Rawhigh Road, and we want to thank them for coming on board again with RacinBoys here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and RacinBoys Studios here in lovely Independence for RacinBoys Radio and RacinBoys TV. So McCarthy Auto Group, a great supporter of the RacinBoys. Make sure you go out there and purchase either a Chevrolet, a Hyundai, a Nissan, or a Toyota Chevrolet, and make sure you tell them we're doing this because you support the RacinBoys in motorsports. Great supporters of Lakeside Speedway, I-35 Speedway, Midwest Lightning Sprints, Humboldt Speedway. Heavily involved in motorsports, so they are great for the racing community, and that's why we all should step up and spend our dollars out at McCarthy Auto Group.
And that will continue at Lakeside Speedway. You know, they were a sponsor up at I-35 Speedway last year.
Right.
And I know Mike Johnson's had a relationship with McCarthy Auto Group.
Well, they've been out at McCarthy's been out at Lakeside since Mark Olson's been there.
And that will continue. Yeah. So it's great to have them on board, and we're a family here, you know. Yeah. And the one thing about going into the McCarthy Auto Group dealerships all around, you don't need to worry about any stress that you're not going to get the best deal, because you're going to get the best deal no matter where you go.
Don't forget their collision centers. They have 4 collision centers located in Olathe, Overland Park, Blue Springs, and Sedalia. So if you need a little work done to your car after an accident, sliding around in the snow or something, no place better to do it than McCarthy Auto Group Collision Centers. Check them out, again, kccars.com.
We're 3 weeks away from our first pay-per-view on RacinBoys. And
you nervous?
I'm getting more nervous by the day. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
We've done a lot of audio webcasting, as everybody knows, with the Chili Bowl and Lucas Oil ASCS Sprint Car Dirt Series. This is our first foray into the pay-per-view, and we're getting things together as we speak. And it's hard to believe 2 weeks from today we're going to set out for Tucson, Arizona. Todd and all of us are heading out there.
Scotty Cook, pit reporting for us out there. We'll have Brian Holbert making the call. Again, our first pay-per-view event. You can get both days for $35, or if you just want to buy one of the individual days, you can do so for $15. It's our first pay-per-view, like we said, and we're excited about it. We're going to be doing a few of those, hopefully, this year. We know we're going to be doing the Eagle Nationals as well, June 1st. So pretty exciting, really. Pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully the people in this area will tune in and watch what we're doing there on pay-per-view. Kirk, we just had Mike Johnson. I want to continue our discussion a little bit. We got everybody on the chat room, and we kind of loosen up the show a little bit in the second hour. So feel free to shoot your opinions on the chat room and hang out with Kirk and I. And I really, to the people that are on the chat room right now, I want to ask you what you thought of what Mike Johnson said. I think he couldn't have handled it any better than he did. I think that I think he kind of was listening in our last segment, called back in, said he is not cutting the purse.
How do these rumors get started? How did that get started? I mean, we heard this from a couple of well-known drivers,
right? And we're going to leave nameless.
And so when that talk is out there, I mean, they heard it from reliable sources. How do these things get put out there, and how does that get started? That's what I'd like to know.
You know, maybe somebody took what they said about adjusting the purse as cutting the purse. When you hear something
specific to the point where they're going to cut 700 down to 500.
No, they weren't 700. They were 700 a couple years ago.
Oh, that's right.
Right, they were 600 last year. And the rumor had it. And now I will tell you, one of the drivers I spoke to did say the number 500, that he heard he was cutting.
So
it to
where did
500.
that come from?
I don't know. You know, again, sometimes people hear what they want to hear when people talk, right? Like us. Kirk, how many times have we talked on this show? And somebody said, I heard you say this, and we never said that. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
Happens all the time.
Because people hear what they want to hear. They don't actually hear what you say sometimes. They hear what you say, and then it goes in one ear, and by the time it gets to their brain, they hear something else.
So when Mike Johnson says in the interview that there will be some adjustments to the purse, everybody automatically assumes cutting the purse, which that isn't necessarily the case.
I don't know. And again, how did you decide the purse rumors were reliable sources? Well, all I know is that I had two drivers, and I'm just going to call them stars. How's that? Is that fair enough? Without mentioning by name.
Two of the biggest stars that
That
Kansas City has
ever had.
Right.
Right. And when you have guys with that kind of cred, and they call you, if one person would have called, it would have been different.
Called you specifically with that topic. This wasn't just something that came up in a conversation. This was specifically the reason they called.
And have communicated as early as this morning with another superstar from this area, one of the all-time winningest drivers. So here's what I'm saying. You know what? When you hear that, you've got to ask the question. I think Mike answered it correctly, and I think his obviously call back to the studio in that final segment to reaffirm that they are not cutting the purse. They're just making adjustments. I got to believe that that's what they're going to do. Let's hope. We'll hear about it. Believe me, as soon as that meeting's over, and I might run up there as soon as this is over. I might try to get in my car and get up there to see it. As soon as that's over, I will hear if that is the case, and then we'll know. But here's the thing. If you do cut the winnings after what you said this morning, that's not the foot you want to start off on.
But he could also be true in saying that the purse will not be cut, but yet the top of the purse be cut if the total payout is the same. If they spread it out and
take a little off the top,
money,
put it in the middle or
if
something.
The start money is higher, the top money is down, and spread it out. That's technically not cutting the purse, even though it's taking some off the top. Which I'm not opposed to if that helps build up your car count.
All right, let me pose this to and we got a lot of people on here, so let's pose the question to the listeners that are hanging out with us on the chat room right now. Is $500 enough? Is that enough winnings for the A mods at Lakeside? That's the question. If they were to not cut the purse, but adjust the purse to where it paid $500 to win, and say they keep it at $165 to start, is that enough? $500 to win at Lakeside Speedway. Is it enough, Kurt?
I would say no.
I would say no.
Don't
say no.
$500. I remember back in the 70s at the State Fairgrounds in Des Moines, the late model class up there, they put 10,000 people in the grandstands up there every Saturday night. 10,000 people. That big grandstand at the fairgrounds filled every week.
At Corning? Where?
At the State Fairgrounds in Des Moines.
Oh.
They had two classes. They had a late model division. They had a sportsman division. In those days, they were paying $500 to win.
What year was that? What year was that?
Back in the 70s. In the 1970s, they were paying $500
You're opening up
to win.
a whole can of worms right here. Because let's be
So
fair.
is 500 enough in 2013 at Lakeside Speedway in the Premier Division? The answer is no.
No. Most people are saying not enough. Got one on here. 500 is plenty. Cars cost too much. Does it bring down what? Let me ask you: do you think that the cost of racing is going to go down if they pay less? Absolutely not. You're just going to lose more money. That's all.
And a lot of racers will just quit because they can't afford it.
You know, we've talked how many times, Tom Charles. He wants the price of racing to go down, modified racing. He believes that they should run IMCA out at Lakeside Speedway. But I'm not sure that that's a good idea, to be honest with you. You know, you think about if they, and again, it kind of Lakeside and how your cars survive out there kind of depend on track preparation as well. That track is locked down heavy and rough. It will eat cars alive. Motors, bodies, suspension, everything. But if it's slicked off, not to the point to where it rubbers down or to where it's single file racing, but if it's slick and smooth, it's not as cost demanding as it would be if it's rough because of the size of it. People call it a half mile. It's not a half mile, folks, by the way. It's 0.4 of a mile. I know that.
It's almost like a half mile.
You race it like a half mile, and it feels like a half mile because of the long sweeping corners that they have there at Lakeside Speedway. But the fact is, it is 0.4 of a mile. I know that for a fact. Harvey Wallbanger said it should pay 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, wow. I don't know.
Well, you got to be very careful when you structure a purse. And as Mike Johnson pointed out, it's a business. And you want the promoter making money, he's got to make it. And most people that go through the exercise of structuring a purse don't know all of the expenses and everything else that goes along at operating a racetrack. The whole idea of structuring a purse is not so much to give everything to the top guys. You want big stars to show up at the racetrack. But there's always a lot of focus on how much it pays to win, when really the total focus should be what the total payout is and how much it is to start. If you want a large number of cars to come to your racetrack, you have to have your purse structured as such to where it encourages not just the top guys to come to your racetrack every week, but everyone to come to your racetrack every week.
We've got a generic name on there, and 0736. Just put some kind of handle on there so we can recognize you by a name so we don't have to call you a number. If I won three $750 features, how did it really help me over $500 wins? Really?
Say that. I gotta read that
it said
again.
if he won three $750 features, how did it really help me over $500 wins? Basically, what he's saying is there a real difference? Well, hell yeah, there's a difference. Talking about $750 difference. That's a lot of money, right?
When you're operating these teams,
would you rather take home? Would you rather take home? Let's see, $1,500 versus what? $2,250? I think so. That's a set of tires, a few jugs of fuel. Absolutely, that's a big.
It adds up, especially over a course of a season. And people like Tim Carrick and John O'Neill, they go to the racetrack to win. That's not to say everybody doesn't want to win. Everybody does want to win.
But
those guys expect to win when they show up at the racetrack, so they're focused on that.
Again, Mike Johnson has said that they are not cutting the purse. So let's make sure everybody understands where you're saying that he has confirmed that they're not cutting the purse. They're making adjustments on it. We're only talking in a hypothetical manner right here. That if they make the adjustment, are they going to make it at the top? That's what we're talking about here.
And I can see where he's coming from. The purse needs to be looked at, and adjustments possibly need to be made.
I don't know
in order to encourage as many of these guys to get to your racetrack every week. Now, I don't think car count's been a problem at Lakeside Speedway, but we're in an era now to where there's lots of questions about the point fund. A lot of people, even though there are new owners out here, are still not fully trusting of what the point fund is going to be. because of what's happened in the past.
Yeah, but I'm not even concerned about the point fund. Listen, I'm going to tell you, I want to be perfectly clear. I believe that Mike Johnson and Don Mars are going to do a great job out there. You know, some people would have liked to seen Clint Boyer end up at the racetrack. I'm not sure that Clint Boyer would have been the answer to purchasing that racetrack.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have been a hands-on
Absentee.
owner.
He would have been an absentee owner.
That's right. He wouldn't have been a hands-on owner, and there would have been a lot of questions of who would run the track for Clint and how could you keep the culture the same. The culture is what makes Lakeside Speedway, and this is the best opportunity to keep that going.
Now, we don't know that Clint Boyer wouldn't have moved up here because he does pretty much live at the Lake of the Ozarks most of the time.
Yeah, but he couldn't be at the racetrack every week.
He couldn't be there every week, but he could be a little hands-on during the week and running the operation and everything like that. I doubt that would happen, but I'm just saying he could have. I mean, you look at Tony Stewart. He lives in Indiana. You know, that's where his home is. He flies to where I'm sure he's got a property down in North Carolina that he uses. But in Clint Boyer, we know he's down at the Lake of the Ozarks all the time. I'm not sure that he would do that.
How much did he want to buy?
I mean, he could get on his big old jet and just fly from the Lake of the Ozarks up here in 30 minutes. Be like a commute for him, so it wouldn't be that big a deal.
How interested was he in going after Lakeside?
From what I'm told, he was interested in it. Yeah.
Well, I think it ended up in the right hands.
I do too. I'm going to put my ringing endorsement of Mike Johnson and Don Mars. I think Don Mars is a good man. I think Mike Johnson is a hard worker. As long as they don't try to go into the stone age of, you know, what it pays to win or anything like that, you know, move back, go backwards. I mean, and I don't really have a problem with the $12 ticket either. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, the one thing about Mike Johnson is he's coming in with his eyes wide open, having run I-35 Speedway a number of years. We're not talking about somebody that's just coming in that's never run a racetrack that doesn't know what's going on. So he brings that level of experience to this challenge, and I feel that he won't be making a whole lot of bad business decisions here based on his experience up north.
No, I agree with you. Again, that address for people that might not have heard it in hour number 1, do you still have that written down there?
775 Brasilla Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri. That's up by the airport. I think you can go as you're driving into the airport. You take the Burn Street exit and then go which way? Left, right?
Turn left. You can't miss it.
Turn left.
You can see
You'll
it.
see the Marriott.
Yeah, you can't
there.
miss it over there. Again, Marriott's, love them.
You going to try to head up there here after the show?
I think so. I think I might run up there afterwards. Of course, they've got a wireless mic down there in New Orleans, don't they? Darn it. I just thought about that. Got a lot of people's opinions here on the chat room.
Now, you said a wireless mic. Oh, we sent some of our equipment down with Sports Radio 810 down to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And you don't have the mic.
That live video that you're watching on Sports Radio 810 TV, that's RacinBoys gear down there, by the way. Some people think that you are starting to say that USRA is going to kill Lakeside Speedway. Do you believe that?
Why would it? Why would USRA kill Lakeside
People
Speedway?
think the cost of USRA is too expensive.
How could it be any more expensive than the modifieds the way it was structured before USRA at Lakeside Speedway?
They were pretty much the same car.
Yeah.
But I think there's people that are disappointed that they're not running IMCA. What would you rather have? As somebody that goes out as a fan, somebody's on the chat room right now, somebody that it's a fan, or somebody that is a racer, team owner, whatever your involvement is out at Lakeside Speedway. What do you think about that?
I look at it as a fan. And as a fan, if I'm going to pay my hard-earned dollars to go out there, and this is the way I was thinking about the $10 admission price earlier, I'm speaking as a fan. And I'm trying to be as honest as I can if I were a fan. I want the big boys to come out there. I want to look at modifieds that look like USMTS, that look like big-time modifieds. IMCA just doesn't carry that kind of weight with me as a fan.
Listen to you with the conviction in your voice.
I want the big boys to show up out there driving the big, fast modifieds. That's what I pay to see every week at Lakeside Speedway. IMCA classes out there, not sure if I would I would go to the effort to go nearly. I'd go some, but not nearly as much as if it were the U.S.
Not as many stars running IMCA in this area.
I go to see the stars. I want to see the big boys run. The drivers that are perceived to be the very best that Kansas City has to offer race, that's what draws me to Lakeside Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure you get that with IMCA. As a matter of fact, I know you don't.
I'm trying to read here on the chat room is, okay, the costs are what's killing the car count. Look back over the last 10 years where mods have gone. Lakeside has used IMCA body rules forever, so who can tell what's under the hood? I can tell a little bit of difference between an IMCA motor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can
They don't
tell.
turn them near as many RPMs. And let's face it, you can tell a little bit difference in the speed. The train eye can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell the difference.
And you're right, though. I mean, the body rule has been IMCA out at Lakeside for several years. But if I'm not mistaken, and I might be, didn't they kind of open up the body rule a little bit last year out at Lakeside?
I can't recall what the rules were. They didn't used to allow the big spoiler on the back, did they?
No. Tom, call in on the show. See that number? Tom Charles on there. Hey, Rooster. See the number on there? 833-8553. 816-833-8553. I want to talk Tom Charles. I want to ask him what he thinks. He said he can't afford Lakeside anymore. I'm running IMCA on Saturdays this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it he's probably going to
I understand.
We know that Tom's a huge supporter of IMCA.
And I understand as a racer, where Tom is coming from, that he's only got so much money to spend. A lot of people are that way.
Sure.
I'm coming at you as a fan. Mm-hmm. What I want to see, what I would pay my hard-earned dollars, what draws me to the racetrack.
But are you
Lakeside Speedway over the years has what draws me to the racetrack, and that's the big stars going at it on a very fast racetrack.
Well, let's be fair. Tom Charles is a big star in this area.
He is. He is. And he's one of the
biggest stars.
He's one of the guys that draws me to the racetrack.
Right.
But I'm saying I understand where he's coming from. He's looking at it as a racer. He's the guy spending his money on that race car, and he's only got so much money to spend, and he's trying to make judgments on that. And I respect that. But he's coming at it from a different view. He's coming at it as a racer. I'm looking at it as a race fan.
Tom, I'm not calling you an old dog, but you are. He's been around this game a long time.
Oh, sure.
He's seen it back from the day when IMCA modifieds were just like an entry-level type car. I remember those days when everybody was running Pinto and, Gremlin bodies and what have you. I remember those days well. Vega wagon bodies, back in the day when Bobby Lane had a Vega wagon body on his. Remember that?
Yep.
He wasn't the only one to do that, but he was probably the most famous Vega wagon, panel wagon body car out there. Pat Gann, Mouse, he ran one. Those were the days. But we'll never get back to those days. And I don't know how it's so difficult to reel it back in,
If everybody was running IMCA, if everyone was running IMCA, and that was the only option that your stars had to run, that'd be one thing. But that's not where we're at today. There's too many other racetracks that run these USRA modifieds and these open rules, and that's where your star power is going to be attracted to. Tom Charles excluded because he's looking at it from a financial standpoint.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's a huge loss to Lakeside Speedway for Tom Charles not to race there.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it.
Huge loss. He's a draw.
He's he puts people in the seats. There's no question about that.
Let me ask you this. Do you think a promoter, I'm going to open up a huge can of worms right here. If you got a guy like Tom Charles that says, I'm not going to race there, I can't afford to go there. And we know promoters have done this in years past, behind the scenes, under the radar where nobody sees it. Do you go down and you tell Tom at the end of the night, hey man, here's $100. Thanks for coming. A little side money to keep those tickets, keep those people buying the tickets. Do you give them a little added kickback somewhere? We know that promoters have done that. And I like it when a promoter does that with a guy that's running in the back. You know what I mean? Guy's been there week in and week out. He's had a rough night, and promoter goes down and whips out a couple extra $100 for him. Say, hey, don't tell anybody. Put this in your pocket. Is it all right to give stars a little extra show-up money?
From a fairness standpoint, technically, publicly, I would say no, but you know what happens. And would I do it if I were a promoter? You know, I sit here and say, no, it shouldn't be done.
But you do it.
Would I do it as a promoter
Absolutely.
on occasion?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's times when it warrants that. Here are these racers that come out and support you every week, and without them, you got no business. And if they run into some hard times or something happens or they're down on their luck or something, sure, I'd throw them a little extra money every now and then.
Absolutely.
Just to show them some appreciation. I wouldn't tell anybody about it, but
Well,
would I not do it?
You know, we know promoters do that because in their passing, like a Larry Castor, we've heard that about Larry.
Sure.
Went down and took care of a couple guys that knew they were down on their luck and barely could afford to race and had a bad night. Here you go, boy. Take this money, but don't you tell anybody. I'll never do it again, right?
Yep. Oh, sure.
You hear that after those promoters pass. You know?
Yeah.
You don't hear it when it's happening. Let's step into another area here, guys, and people in the chat room. Let's hear your opinion on this. You asked him about the staff, and you asked him specifically about J.D. Green. You know, I'm not the biggest J.D. Green fan. I'm gonna be honest, so I'm gonna put this out first before we say
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You know, I don't care much for the Greens, period. I mean, they've taken some pretty heavy shots at trying to get us out of our job. They've went to our sponsors and written nasty letters to our company and to our sponsors. So I'm not going to be a J.D. Green fan. I don't have to be. And I'm never going to be. We'll leave it at that. Is this the time when they should have made a change with that? Because, Kirk, J.D. Green's been in that position when it was pavement. He was at I-70 when it was pavement. He's constantly been in there. And over the course of years and years and years, we've heard many, countless stories about favoritism, or maybe not favoritism. Okay, say favoritism. But taking his own agendas and using his own agendas with his powers. Do you think that this was an opportunity to get a fresh start for the race fans or the drivers that have issues?
Could be, but who are you going to place in that position? If you're a brand new owner of Lakeside Speedway,
I know exactly who I'd put in
and
there.
you already have I-35 Speedway to operate, and you're coming in brand new.
Got it. Got the guy. I know who I'd put in there.
Who is better than J.D. Green right now?
I would. This is my own personal endorsement. I would put Rick Darling in there.
I don't think he wants the job.
I know. I'm not saying he does want it.
you can't.
But
you can't just place him in there unless he wants to do it.
It's not a. And to be fair to J.D. Green, it's not a glorious job. People always yelling at you, chewing your ass out about things. It's not, and I get that. And it doesn't matter who the competition director is. There's going to be naysayers about any competition director. I say that. But see, I'm spoiled. I was around the greatest competition director there probably has ever been in this country for 4 years. Tommy Estes.
Yeah.
Of the Lucas Oil ASCS Sprint Car Dirt
Great
Series.
guy.
By the letter, no favoritism. It didn't matter if you're Tony Stewart or whoever you were. You all got treated the same, and there was consistency. So it can be done because they're far and few in between those type of people. I'm not going to say that J.D. Green hasn't. He has been an asset to the local racing community. Well, I'm not going to deny that. The hard work that they've done at Carb and what they've done with Lakeside and what they've done at I-70 when they were out there. They're hard workers. They put a lot of effort into the local racing scene. They have done that. But we've seen it time and time again that, you know, if they want to try to throw their muscle around, they're going to do it a little bit. Hey, what the hell? We do that here a little bit, too. So we're no different than him a little bit in that
I think the
department.
chances of Rick Darling wanting a competition director's job at any racetrack are probably slim and none, be my guess, just based on my conversations with him. I think he likes showing up at the racetrack and watching what's going on, you know, with Karen up in the tower doing the great job she does. I think Rick is he's a hard-working guy in his own business that I'm not sure that he'd want to take something
Wouldn't
like
he
that
be
on.
the kind of guy you could see in the lines of a Tommy Estes, though?
Oh, sure. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But you got to want to do it, too.
No, I know.
You got to
it.
want the job.
I know it. It's
And how many other people
not a very
want,
thankful job either.
how many other people really want that job that J.D. Green does?
I'm
That
sure there's
would
not a
do-
long
that
line
would
of
do
them.
as good a job, if not better. I don't think you can find them out there right now.
I'm not saying that he doesn't do a good job. I'm just wish that sometimes,
Now, the question
I don't want to go down too far down that road.
the question would be, is will the role be exactly the same under the new ownership as it was under the previous ownership, where he had monumental control over everything that went on down in the pit area? I don't see that being the case this time around. I don't think he will have that level of control over everything that goes
I
on
agree
down
with
in
that.
the pit area.
I agree with that. And he also, Mike Johnson, one thing I did like what he said there is, if he finds that somebody is playing favoritism or doing something that he's not approving, they'll be gone.
Yeah.
That's happened with J.D. Green, by the way, up at I-35. Mike stated as much that him and J.D. have had their issues, and they've worked that out. Let's see if that can continue to be worked out.
I think that we'll see how it goes. But I like the fact that Mike Johnson is at least going to give it a try to see how it works, because he knows how difficult it would be to try to find somebody to come in there and do that job. And I'm sure that he'll look at other people to come in to work as officials and try to groom them in a certain way. And, down the road, who knows what could happen. But at least in this transition of just taking over the racetrack, I think it's a smart move trying to keep as many of the current officials there as you possibly can.
I liked what he said, what he was going to do at the wall.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
I think
Keep
so.
them off that pit road. They won't be hung out there to hit the other end.
They've looked at it. You can tell they've studied it, looked at it, thought about it,
Now,
put some heads together on ideas and to make it better. I think they'll come up with a pretty good solution there.
I will tell you, though, that, and I'll say it right now, I believe that more cars will smash the wall getting off of turn 2 than ever before. As somebody,
Interesting to see how it works.
well,
won't it?
Kirk, I've raced out there. I got thousands of laps around that track when it was pavement and some when it was dirt. Raced out there a few times in my modified on dirt. When you come off of turn 2, to carry the momentum that Lakeside demands, because it's a momentum track with the big sweeping corners that they have at Lakeside, when you come off the corner, you've got to keep that thing rolling. And how many times have you seen him slap the end of that wall coming off of turn 2 with the right rear?
Oh, it's happened a lot of times.
So now just think about that. That wall turns in a little bit as you come off to point you down into turn 3. That just tells me that it's good. And this is probably during the process of learning how to race the track. But I think you're going to see more people hit the wall coming off of turn 2 than you've ever seen before.
Makes those guys down there that watch those races in turn 2 at that big stand down there,
That was
the
the
turn
first
2
thing.
crowd, even a better observation point than before.
That was the first thing I thought of, was that turn 2 crew. When we watched that,
Yep.
that first time we were up there watching that was amazing. Just to see how close they got. When he said he's going to adjust that was the first thought I had was,
Greg
man,
Shiles,
they're
and
gonna
those
be-
guys are going to have a great
that's
seat, aren't
gonna-
they?
They need to put a camera up there just so you can see some of that. It's just amazing.
That's
shot.
the best. That is the. Would you agree, Todd? That is by far the best place to watch
Yeah,
races. in
I mean,
Lakeside.
I haven't been at all the the terrace parking and all, but man, when you climb up there and you watch that and you see that, I can't imagine other than maybe the guy in the tower with the flagman, but that's an amazing view, and I can't imagine when they change that wall what it's going to be. it's gonna be something to be sitting on that wall. We need to do a show from over there just to see that alone. I
Right.
can't imagine.
Right.
I agree.
Well, Lifer says maybe you should have someone on from USRA and IMCA on your show to get the facts. What facts would you be talking about?
Facts about what?
The facts from USRA and IMCA on the show to get the facts. What facts would you want us to get from those?
Well,
things?
I'm just giving you my opinion.
No, I know it, but
as a fan.
I'm just kind of curious. What facts would you like to know if we were to do that? That's what I want to know. You say the facts, but what facts? What is the questions you would want asked if we had Todd Staley on and somebody from IMCA?
You know, the bottom line of it is, when I go to the racetrack, if I'm a paying customer, I really don't care who the sanctioning body is or who the, who's actually running the racetrack, competition director, any of that.
Right.
When I go up there and pay my money at the ticket window and go in, I want to see a great show with great stars going at it.
Right.
That's what draws me to the racetrack. So wherever I can go to see the big stars,
right.
and if they're all running IMCA, I guess so be that. But that's not the case right now because there's too many other places for these big stars to run.
If you, like you said, if all the tracks ran it, then the stars would be forced to run there.
Sure.
Right.
Then it wouldn't be an issue, would it?
Right. Tom still on the chat room says USRA is a feeder for USMTS, and we see they're trying to keep the cost down, and he's laughing out loud on that one.
Well, yeah.
He's not. There was some sarcasm.
They're trying to keep the cost down.
There's some sarcasm in that.
Those are USMTS cars.
Basically, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean,
except with Dean Willie's crate motor at Valley Speedway, won the championship out there. I'm not sure how competitive he'd be with that in the USMTS.
You couldn't win with a crate motor out at Lakeside.
But he won at Valley a lot of times.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that at Lakeside.
No. At Lakeside, not a chance.
No. Well, anyway, some of the other things that we talked about, I was a little, maybe not surprised, but maybe I was thinking he might give us a different answer. But he stayed on the positive note, which is good. When I asked him about, is he concerned about the flood out there? You know, the great flood of 1993 and then the flood of 2010. That would be a big concern for me if I was spending that kind of money.
If he was concerned about it, he wouldn't have bought the racetrack.
No, I know that, but you still, when you're making a purchase of that magnitude, that kind of money, wouldn't that be something, knowing that it shut it down for basically 2 years of its existence? I mean, it flooded, and when it flooded in 93, it was done until 94.
I think he's worried about the here and now, and the prospects of a flood coming anytime soon are so far away with drought conditions that we've experienced that he's not thinking in terms of what's going to happen 4 or 5 years down the road.
Would you have went to the Corps of Engineers?
You know what? I can understand that. I don't blame him.
But would you have went to the Corps of Engineers and said, hey, listen, tell me what you know could happen?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would hope that he would, at least to gather information of what can happen. But he was asked, is he concerned about that right now? And I can understand why he would not be. But not having gone to the Corps of Engineers to find out all of the particulars, I think that would be irresponsible in purchasing a racetrack. I'm sure he did that.
I think he, along with maybe those 4 or 5 other businesses down there, the pallet company, the grain company, the concrete company,
the go-kart track.
I think as a group I would have went at some point to the Corps and said, I have to have, I mean, it wasn't a rain situation. It was a breach of a levee or something, letting water out up above. I mean, what?
Well, what happened was what lake was that up in South Dakota? You remember? I mean, what dam that was? But they had to they were holding water because they thought that they were going to be in a dry situation up there, and it turned out that they had to relieve some water up there and send it downstream, and that's what caused the flooding.
Right after a lot of snow had fallen up there.
It wasn't a breach of the levee around the racetrack like it was in 93. It was a breach of the levee.
This was holding back a certain amount of water from heavy snows the previous winter, and when they decided to release that, and I think there were some concerns about some dams up there of how they were going to hold. That's why they released the water when they did.
If it's me, I'm going to ask them: are they going to manage that water a little bit better in the future? Yeah,
I would assume that those questions were asked and that information was gathered.
And for my answer from Mike, I took it as You can't get insurance for flood out there. Did you take it that way? He said you kind of got to just take it on the chin.
You know, when I lived out,
Yeah.
when that went from being that 93 flood, the president at that point, they deemed that non-inhabitable for
It's when they tore down all Walcott,
all
all the
Walcott.
houses down there and
Yes,
everything.
You know,
right?
when I grew up, there was houses and everything down there.
Well, that's where
And
Tom Charles grew up.
Yeah, we
Right.
did a whole segment on our racing TV show about him living basically on Pit Road on Thunder Lake down there. But the only companies I think they're allowed to have down there are businesses that don't actually have anything on hand, you know, where they can't turn in insurance. I mean, there's nothing you can turn in on insurance on a racetrack other than, you know, what you've lost. But they paid out so many years in a row with floods that they deemed it non-inhabitable for, you know, housing and only for businesses. And I'm pretty sure it's limited to whatever businesses that they allow you to have in a flood-prone area like that. I'm sure the insurance is definitely
right.
and a concern.
Well, they did announce last year after the flood that the Army Corps of Engineers were going to rebuild those levees and make them even stronger than before. So with those things taking place, I think that alleviates any additional concern that you might have if you're coming in buying that racetrack.
I'll tell you how disinterested Rooster is on racing at Lakeside Speedway. He's going to watch basketball today, but he also says weekly racers need affordable racing to survive. Times are hard. We are going to pay a price for choices we get wrong. He said, and he's going to watch. He's basically going to watch. Dennis Stroud called me here this morning. I don't know why he's calling me during the show, but maybe we can give him a call. I don't know if you have his number in there, but anyway, he says that he's going to watch basketball and that he's not even going to go. So that's how determined he is not to run.
There you go.
At Lakeside.
Well, we'll find out what
huge
happens.
loss for Lakeside.
The economy has a lot to do with the state of racing as well as everything else. And it's not completely back, and the cost of it keeps going up and up and up. And, you know, people's own, you know, expendable money that they have to spend on entertainment and whatever is just as tight as it's been in the last several years. So it's going to continue to be a struggle in 2013. There's no question about that.
All right, let's answer a couple other questions. Matt F. He says he's an hour and a half from Lakeside. Any other news? Well, I would say that there's not as much news going on around here as we'd like. I think somebody asked here a little bit earlier about the ASCS National Tour. If you add the TBA's to be announced dates right now on ASCS's National Tour scheduled, talked to Brian Hobart last night extensively about this, about 58 races right now for 2013. So they did drop a couple dates. Not sure what happened there, but they had Beaumont and Baytown on there, and those have come off of the schedule. So I'm not sure what that had to do with anything, but I'll try to find out. How about Tyler Walker's arrest?
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, hour and 45 minutes into the show, and we've yet to talk about Tyler Walker. Well, what happened to Tyler Walker? Well, he got caught up in a high-speed chase on Wednesday.
140 miles per hour.
Through 3 states, he and his girlfriend driving a 2007 BMW.
High on meth. Had meth, marijuana, paraphernalia in his car. Crossed the state line. Over 140 miles per hour in his 740i. What a waste of a great talent. Just so sad to see somebody waste their talent like that.
He was a great talent. And how did Carl Edwards get his idea of the backflip? Well, it was from Tyler Walker. Tyler Walker, several years ago, showed what kind of talent he is, much to the point to where he got a NASCAR ride. He drove races in the Nationwide Series, the NASCAR Truck Series. Had some starts in his career, so you don't get those kinds of opportunities unless you have some talent. But it didn't work out so good for him in NASCAR. He was suspended indefinitely for drugs. Out he goes. He got himself rides in some sprint cars. And last summer, just after the 4th of July out of Williams Grove Speedway. He got caught up in a situation where a call was made out on the racetrack. He didn't like it very much, and he went on a profanity-laced tirade towards the officials. Security crews followed him down into the pit area. There's a video of this up on YouTube somewhere. You can watch that for yourself, and it's pretty compelling to watch. And a woman security guard started pushing one of his crew members, and it got a little
ugly.
bit out of hand.
Got a little ugly. All right, let's go to the phones. Dennis Schraub from Valley Speedway is called in. Dennis, how you doing, bud?
Good. How are you doing, Scott?
We're doing pretty good. What's going on? We were on the air. I couldn't answer the phone. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh, that's okay. Now I just listening to what you guys are talking about on payout and stuff, and so I just got on the computer and kind of pulled up some of the other tracks around just to see what they were doing, and kind of what most of them are paying is around $500 to win.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm talking about the A mods, and anywhere from $75 to $100 to start.
What do you pay to win, Dennis?
We pay $700 to win and $100 to start.
Okay.
I mean, we're a little bit higher, but not a lot higher.
Right.
But some of these guys that are talking about these big purses and $160 to start. I mean, and it is expensive to race. And these tracks are USRA tracks. One of them is Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil pays $500 to win, and I think it was $100 to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you've got the top tracks, and that's what's being paid. And it is. I mean, you'd like to be able to pay more, but from a track standpoint, you got to look at what the back gate is, what the front gate is, and if you look at what Warrensburg down there that had a high purse, he closed it up, and what he was losing every year. You was pretty close to Earl.
Right.
He lost huge amounts of money, and
I thought I was close to Earl.
Yeah, well,
right.
Earl's a nice guy, and he definitely did a lot for racing, and he put his money where his mouth was. But unfortunately, you can't feed these things forever. You got to turn a profit to keep them open. And
yeah.
But Dennis, now you say you pay again. How much to win in your modifieds, A mods?
$700.
So let me ask you, and we're not saying that Lakeside's doing anything with the top end. He says he's going to make some adjustments on the personal. Let's be
he's
clear.
He's going to have to. You're buying a track that's closing because of financial situations. So if you run it like it was always run, what you can't expect other than having more financial problems.
Well, Dennis, let's be fair. I mean, if you paid your point fund every year, that might have helped as well. Mother Nature didn't help the matters. I'm not sure it's all about the purse.
It isn't. No,
you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, it's an element of the equation, but I'm not sure that is necessarily what caused Mark to have to sell the racetrack out there. I think it's 7 or 8 rainouts, as well as anybody. Thank God.
Absolutely.
Thank God that you had
50% of my races one year.
But thank God that you ran 2 nights a week, because if you lost 50% of your races and you only ran 1 night a week, that would be almost an instant death sentence.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, you were able to capitalize on having 2 nights. So
absolutely.
But if you're able to pay that kind of money, most people would say, well, then Lakeside should be able to afford to pay $700 to win. I'm just thinking what people are saying out loud right now.
I understand that I don't have any payment, from on my real estate,
You
so,
have lower debt.
I mean, I don't know what their situation is on the buyout, but I mean, it depends on what their expenses are. I mean, it's and your money's worth something. Whether you have a note on the property or not, the money that's in it is worth something. Whether you're making a payment or not, you still need a return on your investment. So
yeah, and it just goes back to the question. I was asked about admission money, and I'm just looking at it as a fan. As a fan, hey, $10 bills, great, But I don't know
That's
all
just
the.
Kirk being a tight ass.
I don't know all. Yes, but at the same time, I don't know all the expenses, so I can't really say.
You see
what will work and what won't. Only you know that, and a lot of people have opinions. And they post on the forum board. They think they know everything about what a purse should be, but none of them have ever run a racetrack. They don't know what all the expenses are.
Hey, that's why he runs the bank account here at RacinBoys. I'm just saying.
Well, and I know what you guys make too, and it ain't much. It's more for a level what you do than it is for the money. So,
just ask everybody. We're getting rich over here at RacinBoys.
It's a good thing we love racing, isn't that right, Dennis?
Absolutely. If you guys just looked at the financial side of it, you would have shut it down years ago.
Oh, I guarantee it. But
God love you.
Hey, here's the thing, though. That's why people like Mike Johnson, Don Mars, yourself, Kirk, and I, people that are involved in this industry and try to make a living off of it, we do it because we love to do it. We love our sport. We love what's going on. That's why we do it. We're not. Listen, how many people you know that are in grassroots racing industry that get rich? It doesn't happen
Zero.
very often. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a few examples that somebody could point out, but very few people. The people that do what we do, what you do, what Mike Johnson and Don Mars are doing, they do it because they love the sport, and that's the number one reason. They're not. I remember a promoter, and he's no longer a promoter one time, promoted a little track out in Odessa. He told me one time, he said, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 50.
Right.
That guy was doomed for failure. That's all I can tell you right now.
Yeah, just is never going to happen. And, you know, we're living in the kind of times now, Dennis, where you just can't raise admission prices and raise concession
People don't like
prices
change.
and those kinds of things. And still, it's so hard. It's hard to make those kinds of decisions right now with the times we're living in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and that's the problem. You know, you're really trying because you don't want to raise prices. You know, everybody's just kind of hanging on by a thread and struggling right now. So you do have to be sensitive to it. But you know, if you lose money every week, it's like, okay, either you shut the doors or you raise. You got to do something. You know.
Yeah, you say that, but yet your expenses keep going up every year.
Typically. Dennis, you had to make some adjustments in your schedule this year, not as heavy on the special events. And, I mean, you've always got to make those adjustments as you go year by year, right?
Well, yeah, that's the reason we kind of cut back on some of the specials, because to bring them big specials in, I mean, you have to do a $20, $25 ticket. And there's a lot of people that can't afford that, but they can't afford that $10 or $12 weekly ticket. And I'll be quite honest with you, the weekly shows are every bit as good as some of them specials. I mean, we got some great drivers in this area that put on a hell of a show for the fans. And, you know, if they go, I don't care what track they go to in this area, they're going to see a show at whatever track they want to go to, whether it's a special or not.
Right. Well, you know, one of the specials I'm looking forward to, and I'm a little self-serving here, but May 22nd, Valley Speedway, the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour, we're going to be coming in there. Looking forward to that. Great race every time that the National Tour guys show up. That is, again, May 22nd. That's just right around the corner, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And them guys, one thing you say about whenever you go to those specials, it puts a whole new spin on how fast a car can go around any of these tracks. I mean, you think you got some fast drivers, and them guys come in that do it every week or twice a week for a living. It's like, wow, how do they do that? How do they, you know, go a second faster than your fastest time? You know,
they're professionals. That's why.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Hit the nail on the head. They're pros.
Dennis, looked like you had a great turnout for your banquet, and unfortunately, Kirk and I weren't there. But tell us how that was. It looked like you had a big crowd.
It was good. The drivers, the teams. We have a few fans show up. It's really nice that they kind of get together. For us, we close out one season and start the next season. You know, it's kind of a combo deal to where you can kind of give all the trophies out, and it's ready to start. You know, so you kind of kill two birds with one stone whenever we do it that late.
Yeah. Before we let you go, any new news out at Valley that you'd like to get out to the listeners?
Oh, we got that USMTS race March 9th. Hopefully, Mother Nature cooperates with us there. You know,
that's a scary time of the year, isn't it? That's a scary time of the year to have a special, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But Humboldt was racing the day before, and they wanted us to do a Saturday, so we stuck our neck out. Hopefully, it pays off for us, and the fans will get to see a good show if the weather cooperates.
Now, what other big specials are you having? We know about your weekly show. We know that you're going to bring back the Valley Sprints again, and you're going to be rotating the support class every other week with that. Is that correct this year, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, on our Valley Sprints, we pay them the same as we do the A-Mods. It's exactly the same pay schedule, $700 to win, and then the same payout down. What we did do this year, we're adding midgets. We got 14 events and 2 Power Eye shows for midgets. It's kind of a test for us to see, you know, if we can get some support, and these guys want to race midgets out here at Valley. If it works, we'll put them on the weekly show next year. You know, if there's enough guys that want to do it, and enough fans that want to watch them, to be quite honest with you.
Right. Well, thanks for everything you do. We appreciate it. And you going up to Lakeside meeting?
Well, I'm getting 300 tires in today. I'm waiting for my tire guy to show up to unload 300 tires for the street stock guys that want to run on these 10-inch tires.
Now,
so.
have you always sold tires?
No. The only thing I'm doing, I'm selling these takeoffs. The guys wanted to be able to run a cheaper tire, and these asphalt takeoffs, we're selling them for $30 a piece, and if they want to buy 4 of them, I'll sell them to them for $25.
Where do you get those
at?
Where do you get those from?
A Hoosier. They've got a guy that I don't guess he travels around to all the races and picks up all the takeoffs at these Hoosier races.
Interesting.
And we're doing the F40s and F50s. They got to run the F50s on the right-hand side. It's a little harder tire, and they can run the F40s on the left if they want to, or they can run the F50s all the way around.
Now, is that a slick tire?
Yeah, they got to groove them after they get them.
Wow, how about that? That's
But,
interesting.
and again, I don't know if it'll work out or not. It's something that the guys have asked for it, so we're going to try it and see what happens.
Okay.
That will be interesting.
Well, Dennis, thanks so much for calling in and giving your take on what's going on. You always have a good opinion. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Well, all right, thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
see you
thank
later,
you.
Dennis.
All right, bye.
There's the owner of Valley Speedway, Dennis Schrout, calling in with his opinion on
Now,
purses.
Slick tires, and you got to groove them on your own. Where did that come from?
No, that's been kind of going around for a while in some areas of the country. Yeah, it's not the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
I don't know if I want to sit around and
Why-
groove a bunch of tires all the time.
How do you think that's going to work out?
Well, I don't know. They've been doing it. Other areas, maybe somebody could tell me on the chat room where that's taking place. I'm not sure, but
And will that make the racing better? Will it make it more affordable? Will it bring in more competitors in that class? Interesting.
Well,
That's the first I'd heard about that. I don't know. You know, when track operators become vendors, you know, when they sell tires,
it's kind of slippery slope.
sell fuel, that.
But you know what? I'm all right with it.
I don't
though.
know.
I'm all right with it. You got to create revenue streams. That's just another revenue stream.
And I understand why they do that, just as you described. You're trying to add to the bottom line, but when you start affecting the competition in that way, I've always been a little bit uneasy about that. I know it's pretty common, pretty customary for promoters to get into selling tires and fuel and so forth, but it's always a pretty touchy situation. It can be.
Midget racing. Hopefully that's successful for Dennis out there. I'm kind of going to take a wait and see it. Yeah.
How many cars? That's my only question. How many cars?
Kirk,
are
we
gonna
know
show
that
up?
midget racing across the country is kind of dying out a little bit, you know. But in this area, midget racing is pretty popular. At the Chili Bowl, when we do the Chili Bowl Nationals, we hear a lot of people from Missouri and Kansas and the surrounding areas that have midgets that maybe don't have the budget to go run with the Lucas Oil Power Eye Midget Series. They do have a couple of those Power Eye Midget Series races at Valley Speedway, so that might encourage them.
And they bring in a pretty decent car count when the Power Eye comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But what's that going to be like in the other events? You know, how many cars are going to show up, you know, when they run the other events? And I know Ray Boyles has put a lot of time in on this and trying to get this up and going. I love midgets. We all love midgets. But the big question is, how many of them are out there that are going to come race with you that many times?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna look forward to it. Hopefully, I'll be able to see a few more dates. You know, I really think by the time the schedule's all done with the TBAs, I'm not sure they're going to fill all the National Tour TBA dates, possibly. But I look for that to end up somewhere between 50 and 55 dates. That'll be about 7 or 8 less than what we had last year. And man, I miss my local racing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I miss it. I just like to go see it a little bit more, actually.
One day you're going to get yourself a car, get back out doing that sort of thing. I can see it one day. You haven't given up on that?
You know what's going on
gonna happen,
behind
eh?
the scenes, don't you, Kirk? Huh? Went and picked up the new body for the sprint car this week.
You picked up something the other day. I don't know all the details about it, but I know you picked up something the other day.
Drove down to Joplin. Tony Bruce, who is a Eagle dealer. I got a new body from him that for the car that Jeff Clem and I are putting together.
When he came up from Tulsa and met you at Joplin, is that the way that works? Is that why Joplin?
He had a sponsored deal there going on
I
there,
see.
so I just met him there. But yeah, man, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lauren Clem going to be driving that car. Griffith Truck and Equipment out of Houston, Texas, is going to be helping us out a little bit with it, and looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Own a sprint car.
Now,
Maybe I
where
should-
all she going to be running again?
Well, with Mike, they own their own car. That 305 they drove last year, that's Lauren and Jeff's car. The car that we're putting together is my car. That will be an ASCS Warrior Region car.
So is she going to try to run all of the ASCS
No.
Warrior Region? No?
No. I'm not funding the race car to race. I'm just putting a car together. We'll have to find some funding to get out there and buy the tires and stuff.
She's going to run a few of the races.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Race cars cost too much. Not enough fans. Big race tickets cost too much. Racers bitching all the time. Who in their world would want to own a racetrack? No.
You know what I heard?
Well said, really.
I'm old enough. I remember all of these same statements being made at about 1979, 80 in that area, and there were a lot of people questioning how much longer will racing continue. And here we are in 2013. We're still around. My big question is the young kids and the change in culture with young people today. Where are they going to find the know-how and the wherewithal to work on race cars when you don't even have auto mechanics classes in school anymore? Kids are doing different things right now. I'm a little bit concerned about where you're going to find the young racers that will grow up and be the kind of old-time racers that we've seen in yours and my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to happen, to be right honest with you. Where is racing? There's still going to be racing, but how it's going to be in the future is going to be a lot different than what you and I grew up with. I can assure you that.
All right. Well, I will say that it's going to be exciting in the Kansas City area in 2013. Looking forward to it. We've got midgets racing out at Valley Speedway. We've got new ownership out at Lakeside. Going to be a lot of great capital improvements done at Lakeside Speedway. A lot of interesting things taking place here, Kirk, right now. I'm excited, really.
Yeah, I'm
for
excited.
the local racing scene.
Excited to see what's going to happen. It's all going to happen here in another couple of months. We'll be at it.
Yeah. Don't forget, Track Talk, both hours, and RacinBoys TV is brought to you by McCarthy Auto Group. Check them out at kccars.com. McCarthy is very proud of all the brands they offer, like Chevrolet, Hyundai, Nissan, Toyota. They have 7 dealerships between the local area at Olathe, Overland Park, Blue Springs, Sedalia. They've got Hyundai, Chevrolets, Nissan, Toyota. They got 4 collision centers around town. You can get all the information you need about McCarthy Auto Group at kccars.com. For Todd Surprise, Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.